today we have a success story. She not only manifested one guy, but she manifested two, and she's gotten rid of two third parties. This is amazing. This is what we're going to talk about today. Amanda here from createyourfuture.co. So today we have an amazing success story. So just before I read this success story, if you haven't already subscribed, definitely subscribe, hit the bell icon below, because I do put out new videos every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday, each one of them with the intention to help you create something wonderful in your life. So she would like to remain anonymous. So let's start. It's a little bit of a long one, but I think it is actually very good. I don't think I know. So she says, "Dear Amanda, this transformation within me is kind of amazing, and I owe it to you and Megan." Ah, so amazing. I started learning about LOA almost 2 years ago. But it's taken all this time for a huge component to finally sink in, that everyone is me pushed out and I create my reality. And if I don't like something I created, I know not to react and to wallow in sadness for a prolonged time, and just to get back, just to get my mental diet in shape and create something else instead. I just learned that anyway. No matter how hopeless it looks, it's possible, because it is. So she starts by saying, I manifested a man into my life in May. His name is, we're going to call him Mike. Okay. Mike was doing exactly the same thing that most other men I've manifested do: hot and cold behavior. I put him on a pedestal, and he was into me and then not into me. He wasn't communicating. He ghosted me, etc. All of that. I created that because I didn't think I was good enough. I didn't realize that what I see outside in my 3D world is just a reflection about how I feel about myself and what I think about myself. Because yeah, our thoughts create our feelings and emotions, right? So I thought I was so lucky that a guy like Mike would be interested in me. I was looking for validation from a guy I created to be distant and unavailable. Geez, it's so clear now in August, but it wasn't clear back then in May. So Mike disappeared and ghosted me for several weeks. I was worried and imagining a third party. So guess what? Yep, I created that too. Don't manifest your fears. It doesn't serve you. There's no point to it. You literally have a choice. And she's right. You do have a choice. How do you manifest your fears? By thinking about them. Okay, so always just stop yourself, get back on your intentions, because your thoughts create. Okay. So I was planning on going to a concert, and I knew the third party was going to be there playing some of her music that night. So I intended for Mike to be there too. He was. I hadn't seen him in weeks. I tried to talk to him to find out what was happening between us, and he was rather dismissive and brushed me off. The third party woman told me that they were not dating, but in my mind, I kept thinking they were. So of course, they started their romance that night, I found out later. I manifested that too. So important for us to take responsibility for things that show up in our life, even if we don't like them, because when we do, we realize we can actually change them. So I saw them at another concert a few days later. They were making a huge show of their new romance. It was humiliating. But Mike and I shared many friends, and some of them were there, and they rallied to me, showing support in an embarrassing situation as best they could. This is also a manifestation of mine. I moved to this city exactly 1 year ago, knowing no one, having no friends, starting from scratch, and I intended to create a family of supportive friends, and it looks like that's manifesting too. My reaction to their extreme display of affection was to walk away. I kept saying to myself, I created this, so don't react to it. Walk away, don't react, create something else. I intended for Mike to communicate with me. The next day, after that humiliating experience, he sent me a text. It was the first time he texted me in about 5 weeks. And it was weird. There seemed to be no real point to the text. He asked if I wanted to talk to him the night before. He even apologized for not talking to me much. It was very uncharacteristic of him, I thought. Did I just manifest that? Of course I did. I didn't say much in response, but I mentioned that it looked like he was in a relationship with this person, and his response was, oh yeah, super real. I didn't react. I created this. So I just set the intention that the third party was going to leave, just up and leave him, pack her things. She's not from here. She came from across the country to visit him and stay with him for at least a month and just get out abruptly and go stay with other friends for the remainder of her visit. And she was never going to talk to him again. I set that intention a few times. It seemed like a long shot, but I didn't dwell on it. And I didn't bother to come up with a reason or a scenario. I just intended for her to leave him suddenly and be gone forever. The next day, I woke up feeling weird, like some kind of electricity in the air. I went on Facebook and saw that Mike and the third party were no longer friends on Facebook. What? About a half an hour later, I heard my phone chime with a text. I knew it was Mike before I looked. It was like I already knew what was happening. He said, we're not in a relationship. My head is spinning. I called him and he told me that she upped and left him that morning and he didn't even know why. They had some kind of issue overnight. She packed her stuff and some of her friends of hers came to get her and she refused to speak to him and blocked him on Facebook. I thought, holy crap, I created this. Everything clicked. I created all of this. I wanted her to leave him and I didn't even bother to consider why. And she just left him abruptly without even telling him why. And she's gone, back across the country now, gone forever. And Mike came to me for support and kindness. Mike and I have now shifted into platonic friendship. I've been supporting him in this, and he's apologized for hurting me, ghosting me, and for some mean stuff he said to me. He owns it all. Interesting. It was like the Mike who declared we should be platonic good friends now, but I know I created that too. I made him say that I made him say that and think that. Why? Because in the middle of all of this, I manifested someone new, a really kind man named Robert. Again, Robert made up. So I wasn't even supposed to meet Robert, or so it seemed. I was coming home late and a friend texted me and asked me to go to a party with him. A party that was winding down, a party with people I didn't really know. I went back and forth on it and I was pulling into my driveway. It was nearly midnight. In the end, I felt the urge to just go for no reason I could figure. All at the party, I was uncomfortable. I didn't know more than a couple people there and it was a crawfish boil and it seemed I missed all the crawfish from earlier. After about an hour, I told my friends I was going home. He said, okay, but let's thank the host before we leave. Yes, of course. We found the host and thanked him, and he said, but there's one last batch of crawfish almost ready. You don't want to miss that. I didn't realize what was happening. Yes, I'll stay for that for sure. While I stood at the crawfish table chowing down, a man slided up next to me and asked me a flirty question. Without even looking at him, I answered in a very flirty way, and we were off. We hit it off so well. I've been seeing him ever since. Turns out he's showing up for me the way I intended Mike to show up. Robert is kind and communicative and genuinely likes me. And it looks like Robert manifested me too. He's been in a relationship for about a year with a woman who does not want monogamy. And I think that worked for him for a while, but he told me he sort of set an intention of his own. He said he thought to himself, I'm ready for a real monogamous relationship now. And then I walked into his life just a couple days after he had thought this. I almost didn't meet him twice. Something told me to go to the party when I really didn't feel like it. And then just as I was leaving, I was found out that there was one last batch of crawfish and I was going to eat some after all. So I stayed. That's why I met Robert. It was like the universe was saying, wait, don't go. He's right here and you haven't bumped into him yet. Yes, this is, we get those moments where we're like, well, something's telling us to go, and it works out because our creation is like right there. I looked at my ideal partner checklist the other day. There are 35 items on the list. Mike checks 15, Robert checks 30. I put Mike on a pedestal. I created him as aloof and unavailable, and then I put my self-worth on liking him. Not this time. Robert's not on a pedestal. My self-worth does not hinge on his liking me or wanting me. I created him. I see that now so clearly. There's a little bit more. Interestingly, he showed up in a way that months ago I had set the intention for a partner to show up. A few months ago, I set the intention to find a partner, but I don't want to get married. I don't want someone to move into my house. I don't need someone all up in my face every single day. I set the intention to be in a monogamous, loving relationship with someone who I can see a few days a week. So we both still have our independence, but we also are devoted to each other. So here's Robert, who has a girlfriend that he's going to have to sort out, to separate from. He's already told her about me, and I'm not sure how she feels, but it doesn't matter. I've created her, so I intend for her to go off and find a new situation that's better for her. She reiterated to him that she cannot give him the monogamy he wants, and he knows I can and I will. He's been a little distant this week, but I'm giving him space, and I'm not feeling insecure about it all because I created this. I'm intending for him to come closer and closer to me. He's working his stuff out, and I know that pushing is the opposite of attracting. And I know to sit back and let my sit back and set my intentions and let them unfold. So a really good intention here is I intend for Robert to have already dealt with his baggage and to be ready to get into a relationship with me. Because I'm good enough, because you're perfect, because you're amazing. I rarely have any fears now, and if any come up, I just knock them down with my mental diet. How can I have any fears anymore when I see how powerful I am? You nailed it. There is nothing to fear. I manifested a man with a non-monogamous girlfriend on her way out of his life. He also has 50-50 custody of 2 teenage kids, and he has a corporate job and a busy social life. And yet, despite all of this, he texts me throughout the day, and we chat on the phone too. There is nothing to fear. I've set my intentions and it's all coming to me. No pushing or insecurities, just let it happen and don't worry. Something you don't like happens, well, you created it, so fix it with new intentions. And know it'll happen just as it all does anyway. I've learned so much in the last couple of weeks. It's like the universe shook everything out and it all fell into place. I thought I wanted Mike, but it turns out I really don't. I just want him as a dear, sweet friend, and I intend he will keep showing up like that for me. Robert is the guy for me to explore and to get to know and spend time with. It's clear. And so he will be. Just as the chain of events were set in motion for us to meet, the chain of events for us to be together in a loving romantic relationship were also in motion. As the song goes, you can't always get what you want, but if you try, sometimes you'll get what you need. Thanks to you, Amanda and Megan, Anonymous. P.S. I set the intention weeks ago that Amanda would read my success story in a video. And I did. There it really clearly explains, that we do get exactly what we intend. And, there's nothing wrong with walking away from something that you may have created because you've created something better. We're creators, and, it's not a failure with Mike. It was a choice, and somebody else showed up with Robert, and, absolutely an amazing story. And I love it. I absolutely love it. So thank you so much for, manifesting someone wonderful. I know that you are going to do amazing at manifesting your relationship. Anyways, yes, thank you for liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And guess what? We'll see you guys all in the next video. Bye-bye.